What really happened on the 5th of August 1305? Come with me and let's find out. That's when King Edward I captured Scottish hero William Wallace and invented Scottish cuisine. Up in Scotland, William Wallace had a pet seal called Alan. But one day, after a few too many drinks, he called the seal Margaret. But down in England, Margaret was the name of King Edward I's wife, Queen Margaret. He demanded Wallace apologise, but Wallace wasn't going to apologise for a simple mistake, and the two armies went to war. Luckily, Wallace's best friend was my great-great-great-great-grandfather, the Delaney, and he was a master technician and he could speak seal. So Delaney and Alan, Wallace's personal seal, went down to Orkney to enlist the help of a dozen battle-hardened seals to help them fight Edward's men. The seals said they'd do it in exchange for a woman each, made in Norway and called Margaret, and they insisted Alan get one as well, so that was 13. Luckily, Norway had 13 Margarets at the time, so it was a deal, and with the seals' help, Wallace won battle after battle after battle. Until Saturday when they took a break, because the Margarets were due to arrive by boat that evening. But something went wrong, and only a dozen Margarets got off the boat. The seals were furious, and they would have been trouble, only Delaney said he knew where to get a spare Margaret. Queen Margaret, King Edward's wife. He'd popped down to England to get her, and all Wallace had to do was keep his head down and not cause trouble. Because he might look grand in a kilt and with a fine head of presumptuous hair, but when it came to winning battles, he was about as bright as a Scottish knight. Wallace said grand and headed off to buy himself some scones. But when he saw King Edward in the shop buying scones for himself as well, he couldn't resist jeering and calling him a lanky flanker. Edward was so furious, he grabbed Wallace, rubbed him full of butter, and then insisted the bakery fry him deeply in oil. Then he brought him to where the seals were waiting and told them, "Chaps, dig in." Well, seals always start at the feet, and anything deep fried is delicious, so it wasn't until they got to the fine head that they realised what they'd done, and the seals fled in shame. Meanwhile, down in England, Delaney had found Margaret and told her Scotland was great. She said yes, she'd always heard that, and she hopped up on his horse, and they raced back to Scotland as fast as they could. But when they arrived, they couldn't find Wallace or the seals, and they'd had such a lovely chat on the way that they decided they'd get married themselves, and they went to Ancram by the Sea for their honeymoon. But did they live happily ever after? Well, there's people who say the whole thing's nonsense. There never was a Queen Margaret stormy weather, and there never was a the Delaney. But you can go to Ancram by the Sea today, and you'll see a fine-looking couple swimming in the water and playing with a beach ball and a baker's dozen worth of seals. And the locals say they've been there for hundreds of years, so who knows? But sure, that's nothing compared to what happened to my other great-great-great-great-grandfather. Make sure you follow or subscribe, or whatever they call it these days, so you don't miss that story.